Siêu kinh điển giữa Barca và Real Madrid ở vòng 9 La Liga. Đây là cuộc chiến được cả thế giới chờ đợi. Siêu kinh điển giữa Barca và Real Madrid, bên cạnh danh dự dành cho người chiến thắng, đây còn là cuộc chiến về bản sắc bóng đá, văn hóa và chính trị. Cả Barca và Real Madrid thì đều đang đạt phong độ cao tại La Liga. Thế nhưng ai sẽ là người ca khúc khải hoàn? Cả hai huyền thoại bóng đá, Fernando, Hierro và Gaizka, Mendieta đều có những quan điểm của riêng mình. Xin chào, tôi là Khánh, Linh và đây là Podcast của Zing News. Hello, Mr. Fernando, Hierro. Hello, Mr. Gaizka, Mendieta. First of all, I want to thank you for your time today. Barca is very near the eliminated from the Champions League. What now can motivate them to continue the perform in La Liga, especially the upcoming El Clásico?
Es una buena pregunta, pero
well, it's a great question. But, you know, we can all remember last season, so a match like this, which is a Real Madrid-Barcelona or Barcelona-Real Madrid, it's a real El Clásico match. And at the moment, they're on very equal. They're in first and second position in the standings. What is important is to forget yesterday's match and now just concentrate on this exciting match on Sunday. And it's a match where initially there's 3 important points for the, for the season to be earned. And I have the feeling that this sort of match really motivate everyone, and I think it would allow them to forget what happened in the Champions. And here, it doesn't matter if people have qualified or not, if they're doing better or worse. These 90 minutes of the match on Sunday at 4:15, well, we're going to see who's going to show that they're the best. This side of match is highly motivating. And I'm sure that Barcelona will face this match 100% concentrated on La Liga. They know it's a very important match for them and for their fans.
Real Madrid and Barca are nearly in the same position in La Liga, but Barca is still in the first position after 8 match days. So do you think that Real have something to improve on? And beside that, what do you predict as a result in this classic match?
Well, thank you very much for your question. Well, initially, it's clear that teams, really are strong in these types of matches. They're both good teams like Dembélé, Rafinha, Lewandowski, and Ferran and Ansu Fati playing for Barcelona, and they've got a very good defense. And the team has to be very concentrated and very serious about the match. Professional players, we say that you win a match at both ends of the pitch. There's a lot of quality players. There's going to be a lot of pressure. There's going to be a lot of physical running around on the pitch. So we know that Madrid have got an expert defense where Ancelotti has got a lot of players to choose from, and maybe Barcelona has probably, should we say, slightly weaker in the defense. But I really think that the defense for the Real Madrid team works well. I think they've only drawn once this season. They've not lost a match. So we can really see that Madrid is really full of confidence at the moment.
And Mendieta, how do you think Barca is going to be on Sunday, because they lost their match in the Champions League yesterday? So do you think there going to be more pressure on Barca after signing that did in the last transfer window?
Well, thank you for the question. I think it's, you have to think that, well, they're at top of the table, and they've had great results, 7 wins and 2 draws, and it's a very consolidated team, I think. So the result in the Champions, well, it can create some sort of doubt for what's going on. But I think the team knows how to identify itself, and they know where they're going to have to really put a lot more effort in, especially in their defense. That's where Real Madrid's got to be very strong to win El Clásico. And on the defense level, I'm not just about the defense players. I just mean all the defense for the entire team, not on an individual level, but on a team level. When you're playing there and when you've been a professional player, any mistake has to be converted into something that is a lesson learned and help you for the future. And knowing Xavi, well, that's what he's going to work on. He's going to work on the errors, taking into account the Champions League match, and he's going to correct certain things. He's going to strengthen certain mechanisms that he thinks are very important to be able to, face up to a match against Real Madrid.
Barca is probably one of the best strikers in the world and could become one of the best in history. But it's important to remember that La Liga has two of the greatest strikers in the world, which are Robert Lewandowski and Karim Benzema. As a former defender, which of those three are you scared of playing against them and why?
Esa es una buena pregunta.
Fantastic question. Well, in my days, we suffered Ronaldo, the fantastic striker at the time. So we suffered from, players like that in my day. I think, well, Haaland's got great potential, and we can all see that. He's a young player, and he's scored about 150 goals. He's arrived at the Premier League in a very good form. He's a very strong player. He's a modern player, shall we say. He doesn't need to touch the ball a lot to be able to score a goal. And he, plays well with the other members of the team. But then we also have two other players like Lewandowski and Karim Benzema. These players don't have to show us anything. They've showed their entire repertoire of all the things they can do. And Karim, in Real Madrid, they said we wanted a player that was good to be a top scorer. In fact, he's the second top scoring player in Real Madrid. So we know that Lewandowski is also a spectacular player because he's not a typical number 9, but he associates with all his team players, and he's a fantastic football player. And as I say, that applies to Benzema, but Lewandowski, playing from Bayern, he's scored so many goals, even with the national team. So he's one of these three, should we say, strikers that as a defense, I would prefer him to be on my team rather to be on the other team. So I would say I'd like him to be playing alongside me rather than against me. But I think that Karim and Lewandowski are in a very good period in their career. And obviously, Haaland is also going to have a very good period in time, like the other two have already had.
Winning El Clásico but losing La Liga title and losing El Clásico but winning La Liga. Which one is more important to a professional footballer?
Creo que van relacionadas.
Well, I think they're related, although they're not always, correlative. To win the championship is the objective. If you ask any of the two teams what their objectives will be, to obviously win the championship, because that is what you play for the whole season. But El Clásico is a very important match because that will help you to, fulfill your final objective of winning the championship. So if you lay the end of the season to one side, well, we always think that El Clásico matches are very important, both psychologically and also more than ever in the points that they can win. So at the moment, it's a very, good way of fulfilling that objective. If you analyze these two things separately, well, the El Clásico, winning it, for example, at the moment, Barcelona's ahead of Real Madrid. And when you're the leader, you don't depend on anyone. But I think what you have to think of if you win these matches, the points are very good for the end of the season. But obviously, so I think for me, the championship is much more important. But obviously, it's individual matches along the way. They're ones to remember. And I think the most important thing is who's going to be lifting the silverware at the end of the season.
They say that Haaland is the best number 9 now. Is saying that unfair for Benzema or Lewandowski?
Well, I have to consider what Fernando said. Haaland is spectacular. You know, taking into account his age, you know, and especially how he's got to where he is today. And he's always adapted to the new team, and he's scored goals in the Premier. And from my own experience of playing there, it's a highly competitive league. And for a player like him, it's difficult. But he's just beginning. We're talking about Lewandowski and Benzema, who've been playing for years at their maximum top level, scoring goals. Lots of goals have been scored by them, and they've helped their teams win lots of titles and always directly involved, whether it's an assist or a goal. And as I say, they're leaders of important teams like Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, for example. So I think Haaland is a player who excites us all, and we're all looking forward to seeing how he develops. But Lewandowski and Benzema, I think he's not there yet. I think it's probably a bit too soon. He will get their figures one day, but I think he's still a young player because Lewandowski and Benzema have got different, obviously, background.
How did the injury affect both teams in El Clásico? And what do they plan for La Liga during the World Cup?
Well, I'll answer the Barca. Well, I don't think anybody likes injured players. We want all our players to be available to play because our Clásico is a real fantastic match, and it's seen worldwide. I think that Barcelona has got, you know, a few injuries in the defense players, so that may, you know, affect them more than the Real Madrid. Well, as far as we know for the break for World Cup, well, I think what La Liga is going to do is to go and try and continue with their training, and they're going to have friendlies between different clubs, both on an international and national level. Because obviously they're not going to play. The players aren't going to stop playing. I don't know if the players who participate in the World Cup are only like 3 or 5% of the players that play in La Liga. Because so there's a lot of other players all around the world. They're going to have to be playing, training for like 6 weeks while the World Cup goes on. So obviously we don't want the competitive level to be lost. So as I say, I think La Liga is going to go to United States to play matches, and they're going to, you know, try and maintain their competitive level. That's very important for these 6 weeks while the World Cup is taking place.
The El Clásico is going to be number 100, played at Santiago Bernabeu. We all know what it generates in the fantastic game between two teams. You used to be the captain for Real Madrid. The stadium can be play a huge role in the big matches. How do a full stadium in an important match like affect you when playing?
Well, I don't know if Gaizka is going to agree with me, but I always prefer to play this type of match at home because you know the fans are there to help you. And I think that does affect you. It doesn't, but also I think it does have something to do with the personality of the squad and depend on the moment in time as well. It depends if one of the teams is like physically weaker or mentally weaker, but this sort of match, you know, the players, it's not the first Clásico they're going to play. And so players are very used to playing for these type of matches in this type of stadiums. You know, I think there's like the Bernabeu after refurbishment, I think there's going to be about 60,000 people watching. So the players have to accept it as something that is something that they should enjoy. They should enjoy the experience. And they know that they're playing an El Clásico match and everyone's watching it. It's a great scenario, you know, because the Bernabeu has been refurbished. So I think the players are used to this sort of thing, but I think this side of matches really motivate you. obviously the coaches give motivation speeches, but I think apart from the fact that they get those speeches, I think the actual match, the scenario itself motivates all the players, and when talk about what happened 1 year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago, I don't think that's important. I think what the players are focusing on is that they want to play that match as soon as possible and to enjoy it as much as possible.
When you were playing for Real, no other team beat you more times than Barca, with 18 times. I just wonder which player in the dressing room is able to bring you more confidence for you before entering the match.
I think I played 28 or 30 El Clasico matches, but when you play against someone like Barcelona, obviously it's important. But when you're young and a team like Real Madrid or Barcelona comes along, well, obviously the captains have got more experience and they get the team together and, they explain how you can experience playing in a Clasico match. Because, well, as children, we've watched it on the television, but obviously the experience is unique in my particular case. Well, the captains were the older members of the team, and they always transmitted to me really what El Clasico meant, how you experience it, and how it, what it means for our fans, especially when we win, and how happy you feel. And there's also millions and millions of Madrid supporters watching us. So as I said, I think always your colleagues who've helped you more has always been the people who've been in the team longer, i.e. the captains.
Is this the match where we see many talents playing? Is this any player you think will stand out at the weekend? Who we need to put our eyes in the sort of match? What will decide the result of an Clásico?
Well, I think it will depend if someone scores a goal, but I think that the sensation as a team is important. I think that Madrid on their, their defense and midfielders, and as we said, I think it's a team that's very dangerous. It's a very physically strong team. If Rodrigo plays and if Vinicius plays and Valverde in Madrid, I don't think Madrid's going to change their personality a lot. I think there's going to be a big battle midfield. Busquets or Gabi or Pedri. We all know that Real Madrid's going to have to look at them. But I think that Barcelona is a team, if they put a lot of pressure on at the beginning on Madrid, Dembélé, Rafinha and Lewandowski, Barcelona's got a lot of power, should we say, in their strikers. But the defense, I think, are going to stand out for both teams because, as we say, and also the midfielders. So they're both at a very good level. But I think the defenders on both teams are really what we're going to be watching closely. And I think they're really going to affect the final result of the match. Anyway, that's my opinion.
Real có Karim Benzema, người chắc chắn sẽ đạt danh hiệu quả bóng vàng trong những ngày sắp tới. Trong khi Barca cũng không hề kém cạnh khi sở hữu cho mình tiền đạo hay nhất châu Âu trong vòng 10 năm qua. Lewandowski kể từ khi tới đá cho Barca đã ghi 9 bàn và dẫn đầu trong danh sách vua phá lưới. Và chắc chắn là với sự có mặt của anh thì Barca sẽ có hàng công mạnh hơn. Siêu kinh điển giữa Barca và Real Madrid không hề giống những trận derby hay là những cuộc chiến lớn trên thế giới. Vậy thì ai sẽ là người ghi 3 điểm? Hãy chờ xem.